Let's go, baby. Welcome to the Athletes and Assets podcast. I'm your host, Noah Lack, and I bring on elite athletes to chat about a business topic. Whether it's venture capital, retail, sales, crypto, your favorite athletes know a lot more about business than you think. But how would you know that from just watching mainstream media? You're going to learn a topic of business here, but you're also going to learn a lot about the athletes themselves. Tune in. Please like, subscribe, give us a follow, because we're bringing the heat. Let's get it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Defensive end in college, now playing linebacker. And got speed and power.
Caught from behind by Scarlett. Brennan Scarlett. A menace.
We're back with another episode of B-Scar TV, and I have a very special guest today, my man Peyton Pritchard. Welcome to the show, man.
Let's go. I'm joined by my guy, Brennan Scarlett, NFL linebacker, former Houston Texan, Miami Dolphin, former Cal Berkeley and Stanford alum. That is a crazy combination. Oh, yeah, I know, right? That's a lot of education in one sentence. Portland, Oregon native, B-Scar. We got to skip the small talk, bro. So I'm a big donut guy. I love desserts, love donuts. But can you convince me why I should be checking out Voodoo Doughnuts instead of a Krispy Kreme, a Shipley's?
Bro.
Like, talk to me there.
Come on, man. It's all about the creativity and originality that Voodoo brings to the table. The Old Dirty Bastard is my favorite donut at Voodoo.
Okay, and which one is that?
It's, I don't know. It's just a normal round donut, peanut butter, and Oreos stacked on the peanut butter.
Damn.
And bro, it is delicious.
Delicious.
Hits every time. And that's just, hey, that's just the tip of the iceberg. It gets deep. You get the bacon, maple bar, you got the Fruity Loops, you got all the different flavors you could ever think of. So it's fun.
All right, so the Fruit Loops on the donut, that's smooth. But I'm all about, like, let's not do too much, right? Like, I'm glazed donut, right? Like, give me a nice, solid, warm glazed donut. But the Voodoo Donut combinations, like, bro, those are crazy. Like,
it's wild. It's wild. I'm I'm also a simple man myself. So every time I go, I'm an old dirty bastard every time.
Okay.
And but otherwise, yeah, I'll do a maple bar. So if you're more of on the simple side, we got a Blue Star Donuts out here in Portland that's fire.
Okay.
But if you're walking out with the pink box, you can't just do the glazed, bro. You gotta add a little spice to it.
Right. So if I go to Portland, go to Voodoo Doughnuts and get like 3 glaze and people peep the box, I'm getting chirped.
Come on, bro. Yeah. You might not make it out of Chinatown, bro.
That's disrespectful.
Yeah. Don't do that, man.
Okay. All right. My bad. Man, I appreciate you joining me, man. Right now, I just want to get a pulse check of where you are, right? Like before we dive in, before we chop it up about the off the field endeavors, just need to make it very, very clear that my guy is willing, ready, and able to impact an NFL franchise right now. And B-Scar, how you feeling, man? And how's training been going this summer?
Training's been good, man. I'm feeling good, feeling healthy, feeling ready to go. Where training camp started last week, so I'm watching, waiting patiently, but also training every morning with my training group, and man, staying committed to the regiment and waiting on that call. And when it comes, I'll be ready.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're in Portland right now, right?
Yeah,
training.
That's right. Yeah, I'm in Portland. I train at the Nike headquarters every morning.
Okay.
Got a good group. Got a great trainer in Keith D'Amelio, who works in the innovation department in Nike, and we get to it. We get to it every day. So it's it's a grind, but I love it. I'm going into my 8th season here, and nobody said it would be easy.
No, for sure. Big vet. Get you a vet on the team, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what's up. I think in Houston, you're familiar with Justin Allen, Doug Smith. Those are like the football trainers that, I train with Doug Smith for basketball.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know Justin Allen. Yeah, heard that name many times.
Yeah, so those are the guys in Houston. Sounds like you got your guys in Portland. Mm-hmm. But man, I'm tuned in because I know you'll get picked up, and I'm glad we connected at this time, because right now, I can't get in any other NFL players because they're in training camp. They're in zero dark 30 mode. Obviously, you want to be in that situation. You probably will be soon. But while I have this time and availability, which I really appreciate on your end, I want to talk about an entrepreneurial endeavor that you've embarked on in starting Scarlett Creative. Can you talk about what is Scarlett Creative and how you got started?
Yeah, so I can just give a little context just based on my story. I was an undrafted free agent, went to Houston, coming out of Stanford, and as an undrafted free agent playing outside linebacker, playing special teams, I didn't have a lot of brands or collaborative opportunities knocking at my door. I was kind of had to be my own representative, and I was really obviously locked in on the field and what I was doing and trying to earn my keep and get my pelts on the wall. But after a couple of years, I've always had this kind of understanding that the NFL is not going to be forever, but the influence and the platform that it gives us during the time that we're able to play, it's invaluable, man, to be able to to inspire the people that we want to inspire, make the change that we want to see in the world, and all these different things. It'll get our foot in doors that it would be very tough to get through had we not be playing and not have the NFL shield. So my thought has always been like, how can you extend that or even, lean even deeper into that? And what I found is just, the storytelling, right? And the storytelling of, who I am and sharing that with an audience, who I am off the field, right? And, when I pull up to a game and it's a Sunday and there's 70,000 people in the stands and they're watching number 57, right? They don't necessarily know who Brennan Scarlett is. But the thought was like, how can I share more of who I am, as a person and allow them to connect with that and just instead of number 57. And maybe that can help to extend some of this platform that the NFL is giving me. So, Scarlett Creative was born out of that thought process and wanting to create unique and organic collaboration between brands and athletes to give us as athletes a more kind of original story that shares more of who we are when we're doing these brand collaborations. And at the time in 2016 when I came in the league, I felt like there was a lot of cookie cutter, commercials and collabs that I was seeing on social media. And, I thought there was a couple more layers deeper that we could go. And so Scarlett Creative with Caroline Hall, my co-founder, and I, we dug in and been working on it for the last 2 years.
I could see you on the couch and watching a commercial and seeing when your boy's going, Old Spice. And you're like, nah, hell, kind of whack ass shit is that?
Exactly. Like, insert your energy drink here. Like, yeah, drink. That's it. It's more than that. It's better. It's better for the brand to be able to have a unique story told that's has this kind of organic connection with the athlete. Like the audience is able to engage in a deeper way, in a more authentic way, and also for the athlete. Before we hopped on the pod, we were talking about identity. And, a big piece of an athlete's identity is obviously the sport that we play, right? We've been celebrated our whole lives for being so great at this sport. And I think that a lot of times when you transition out of it, which is inevitable for all of us, it's so difficult to shift the identity, not just for the audience, but also personally for yourself, to see yourself in the light of like, I'm more than what I was doing on the field or on the court or on the pitch. And I think subconsciously, if through your career you can share more of who you are, you not only share it to an audience and to people outside, but you almost internalize that too. And once, you get to the point of transition, it's like, I'm not just a football player, but I'm also a creative, and I've shared that. I'm also a photographer, or, insert said hobby, right, that you've shared via collaborations over your career. I think it makes the transition a little bit easier.
And I feel like the theme of this, what you guys are doing is creative storytelling. Before you even started Scarlett Creative, have you always been like a guy who's created stuff or been into arts or graphic design or media? Like, have you had this like sort of, untapped talent that your friends noticed?
I think I've always been an appreciator of creativity. I'm an appreciator of art, whether that be music or films or these other things. But I'm also an entrepreneurial person. I'm a man of many ideas. And bringing ideas to life is something that I have an extreme passion for. And, in my NFL career with Scarlett Creative, it just seemed like it just made so much sense as a company that could be built while I also play football. And they run sidecar, right? Because it just, as I'm going through my career and playing ball, I'm wanting to share content. And so it gave me this outlet to express my creativity, but also build a business at the same time, which is the hope, and to continue this over the years, that this business grows and develops even beyond my football playing days. But I've always been an idea man, and I love creativity and always have.
It's kind of dope because even if you never play another down, you got this business, you have a nice foundation, and it could become something big. But if you get out there again and start intercepting and tackling dudes and sacking dudes, the price of Scarlett Creative goes up for sure. Like, come on. Like that's the best marketing you could do. Like,
Exactly, man. The price is up.
Yeah. Well, this is awesome. So who do you like to work with, like Scarlett Creative? Who are your clients?
Yeah. So we, a lot of times, I mean, they're sports adjacent brands that we work with, a lot of times coming from relationships that either myself or my co-founder has. And then, also we've started this company on the premise of leveraging me as a personality and the things that I'm into. So, things like education technology, and I have a foundation. So we've worked alongside education companies to help kind of further my mission there, or our organization's mission. And so, that's kind of how we source clients, and working also with athletes and friends in my network.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm interested on the NIL Collective, businesses or entities, right? Greater than one person that decides that they want to work with you. When you sit down in that conversation and you say, look, here's what I could do for you. What are some specific tangible things that, you can contribute into this process?
It's interesting. It's great to be kind of at this intersection or this evolution of student athletes and the ability to be paid and leverage their name, image, and likeness. What we've provided so far with NIL Collectives is the ability to help manage the deal flow. So, when brands or alumni or whoever is donating to the collective in order to get money into the pockets of the student athletes, we'll kind of help manage that, produce the content that's delivered to the athlete that then goes and gets posted, and then on the back end be able to manage the social media with said athlete, with said brand or nonprofit as it's been in the past, and make sure that the content aligns with both brands.
Mm-hmm. Okay, absolutely. And is the same thing go with a player? So let's say we're in the locker room, we're in the Texans locker room. I tap into your lock, hey Brennan, man, look, I'm looking for more off the field opportunities. Like, I got an agent, but I want something that's sort of an extension of him, right? And how do you think about how you play in that space, versus like a typical brand agency? How do you play in that ecosystem?
Yeah, I think we approach it just a little bit differently, of wanting to have a conversation with, the athlete and having shared locker rooms with many of them that we've worked with or have special relationships that kind of understand who they are and what they do and what they're into, their value system. And so, that's kind of the first step, is really wanting Scarlett Creative to understand the athlete that we're working with, so we know, what their brand is and their goals for their brand, right? And being able to kind of look in the mirror and ask myself those same questions as I've gone through the process of how do I want to portray myself on social media or to the public, and what brands do I want to align with? And I think the most powerful collaborations are the one where there's value alignment, and that brand, it makes sense in my story. And so I think then that's the next step of understanding, okay, we understand who the athlete is, and now we're going forward to start to pitch ideas to brands. And based on our relationships, pretty much being one degree of separation, if that, from any brand out there, whether it's sports adjacent or not, and then being able to pitch to them unique ideas that fit the player, right? They're not as cookie cutter as what we were seeing as what, back in 2016 or sometimes see today. But how can we, have a unique impact, and are there opportunities for this player or for this athlete to be more intertwined with the brand or with the company, and have maybe some creative control or whatever that looks like, and really be able to share their talents off the field, especially if they're creative, or they motivational speak, or they're into education. How can we tie their story and where they're from and their background to help not just like, put it out on social, but really connect and add value to the brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're a business, so how do you make money? Like, is it a retainer fee or a commission? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so it depends on the situation, but we've operated on retainer fees. Whether those are typically we'll do like a 3-month engagement. Whether if we're working with a brand, we've done some 12-month engagements, or we'll do it on a project by project basis. Depending on if we're the ones, producing or actually shooting and editing the content, we'll build out a budget and a bid for then, hopefully the brand to take down. And that's pretty much how we've done it. So on a project by project basis, or we'll operate on a retainer and, or, it'll be hourly. Like we'll show up, and whether that's for an event or to cover something, and then, chop up the content and do the social media on the back end, have kind of like a bundle of hours that we that will then kind of deduct from as we do work.
Absolutely, man. That's super dope, and shout out to you once again for starting the creative agency. But B-Scar, man, I'm trying to get athletes and assets on the map. I need some help. Like, I need help on my social. I need help on my I need help on my content. Do you mind giving me like a free 5-minute consultation to see how you work?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about it, man. So look, right now I have me, my video editor, right? Basically a 2-man show. I'm trying to get on the map, like trying to get people to hear, more of my content. Where should I start? You have questions for me? Like where can we begin here?
I mean, I think we talked about it a little bit. I think trying to shoot in person is a great way to go. Like with
you got a studio for me, or can I? Or
you want to come up to Portland? We can set up here.
Okay.
We can set up. Yeah.
Okay.
I think the 3-camera setup, and then have your video editor chop those down, and then obviously the social media bits are really important. And I think structuring your social media kind of schedule or output to not just be able to reflect the conversations that you're having and what you talk about on the podcast, but also for your guests too.
Yeah.
How does the clip add to their story?
Yes.
Right? How does it fit into their branding? And is this content that they'd be proud to post, or would it make sense on their timeline? Whether, I know you're active on Twitter, but Instagram or LinkedIn, having an idea of where do they usually post, where are they active, and then can we fit that content for them? So again, back to the kind of identity piece, that when they're coming on as a guest and athletes and assets, then they're going to come away with a piece of social content that'll help share their story to their audience.
Absolutely. I'm in all seriousness, like, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because sometimes, and I wonder if you feel like this with Scarlett Creative, when you're like sharing a piece of content out there, like my priority number one is to make sure the athletes look good. But in order for me to keep getting awesome athletes, I need to make sure athletes and assets grows, and A&A and like myself needs to look good. Right. How do you think about that balance? In terms, it's particularly the social media, because we're all, really intent on curating the exact social media experience we want our followers to see. How do you think about that balance between Scarlett Creative getting that love and making sure your client is getting what they need out of it?
I mean, I think one of the best features that Instagram's come out with recently is the collaborative posts. That's been a great way to highlight two, entities, call them, or two handles at the same time. And I think that, like, at the end of the day, curating your page is important, but also just putting the content out and being consistent, right? And a lot of that comes from having a plan. At Scarlett Creative, we build out content calendars, so we like to operate at least 2 weeks in advance for content, and that's for all of our handles. And right now, B-Scar TV is one of them. B-Scar TV and Brennan Scarlett is treated, just as a client. So
yeah,
we build out content calendars for those handles just as we would, with any of our NIL collectives that we work with, or any of our brands or other athletes. And building out that time is really important, right? Because consistency at the end of the day, that's key with content. And, that's what you want to give your audience too, is something that they can consistently, have and consume and they get value from it. Right. So to answer your question, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think you can do both.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. And I'm glad you have B-Scar TV, right? That's like the little vlog series that you do with yourself, right? For Scarlett Creative. And are you using yourself as the example of like, hey, if you work with us, like, imagine you in B-Scar's place, but like with your own stuff and like your own, flow and you twist to it.
Exactly. This is the proof of concept, right? For me to go through as a client, not just with Brennan Scarlett, but then B-Scar TV, which has evolved over the years from being a player reporter in the locker room to just kind of man on the street with the mic or any type of vlogging that I'm doing. It's just kind of the home of like content. That's what I call my content. And B-Scar TV podcast now is how, as it's living now and having more long form conversations. And, so now our strategy has shifted a little bit, right? But that's the beauty and that's the strength of the agency and the production companies, to be able to understand the athlete, which is me, the client, and then serve his or her needs. And so right now as a podcast, we want to grow. We want to, we want to get matched with distribution and think about advertisements, and we want to have high quality conversations, right? And make sure that our audience is really gleaning value from the conversations that we're having. And so that's kind of a mix of who's on the show, who are the guests, what are we speaking about, and then how are we breaking it down on social and then sharing it. So it's a holistic approach, I think, but definitely using Brennan Scarlett and everything else that I'm into as a proof of concept and wanting to scale that level of service to other athletes, whether they come into the league as an undrafted free agent or they come in the first round. It's the being thoughtful around how you're presenting yourself and portraying yourself to the public, and really having these conversations with brands, I think, is important too. And I think for me, I've operated in the private equity space, the venture capital space a little bit, and that's a world where I see is a lot of value, right? And a world also I see myself kind of like, I see this creative and investing world converging, and I've had the honor of being able to serve on advisory boards for companies, right? And to be able to have ownership in companies, right? Yeah. So now I'm just not doing collaborations for cash, but I'm thinking about collaborations for companies that I also own, which is like the thought process, the shift, and it's been a beautiful shift within sports, is it's less about the cash. It's always about the cash, but it's more about ownership and like making sure that the companies you're working with align with your values and who you are, and being able to have some type of say, right? So then, when the time comes, when career is over, then you're looking at that company as like part of their team, right? So like you actually just went from one team to another, and through your career, you're operating on obviously the team that you're playing for, but then you're on an advisory board for another company, or you're sitting on maybe the board of a company, or you share an equity because you invested. So you actually have multiple teams. And so when the road ends and your playing career is over, then, the world is still your oyster, which I truly believe. And I think you can do, more than one thing, especially while you're playing.
For sure. And with your relationship with brands and you matching the brands with their clients in a way, like, let's go back to like my consultation, man. Like, I got an episode with B Scarlett coming out later, man. Like, there's someone to really sponsor this shit, right? Like, how do you like, how do you think about knowing everything that you know about my podcast? How would you go about helping me finding that sponsor, man? Like, what should I be looking for? Because like, here's what I do know. I don't want Charmin Ultra Soft as a sponsor. I mean, that'd be pretty dope, but like, it has nothing to really do with, my topic. I don't want like OnlyFans as a sponsor. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, my content's a little more appropriate than that, right? So
I got nice toes though, bro. We could put my toes on those.
Hey, yo. I mean, shit. I mean, like,
I'm playing.
That you could do that on the Scarlett Creative. You can do that on y'all's time. You know what I'm saying? I think I would lose a lot of investors if we did it on the A&A thing.
Yeah, you can't have that
but
on your ratings, bro.
I'm not hating though.
Now, funny story. I had there was one like story post I had randomly posted, or maybe it was a feed post, and it had my bare feet, and bro, I got so many followers just from the feet. And they're like foot fetish profiles. And so, I'm not saying that that's a way to gain followership, but it's kind of a running
But it's a way to get.
yeah, but it is a way to gain followership.
It is a way to get followership. It's crazy how the internet works, man. It's like now now what you're seeing is, I don't know if this is on. I'm not like as hip as you might think. It's either on TikTok or IG Live, where people are paying you on live stream to do a reaction, and like you do like a reaction if people pay a coin or a token, and you know what I'm talking about?
I haven't seen that. I'm not up
okay.
on that.
So you will see this very soon of like viral videos of people acting as animations, but they're the real person, and they're on this live stream, and people want to control their reaction or have them say a noise, and so what they do is like chip in a couple bucks on their stream to get them to. Anyways, it's really weird, but like
what type
really
of
popular.
reactions?
Like anime, they'll be like, bingo, boom, lasagna, and it's like, bro, and it's just the weirdest, like.
That's pretty funny, bro. That could be a good revenue stream for athletes.
Dude, that would be crazy.
Yeah. Well, I think just thinking about like companies from a sponsorship standpoint, I think that athletes and assets is a really cool concept that you've come up with. Great title, it's catchy, and it's this intersection of so many different things: finance, business, entrepreneurship, creativity, right? And then it's also like sports adjacent too. And so, I really think I was thinking like payment platforms, fintechs.
Yeah.
One company that I like who's what they're doing, like Carta, which is like equity distribution company. They do some
Carta's great.
Some really cool collaborations. But leaning more on that side, like how are athletes empowered to control their assets, right? Or to build their assets. And then what tools can they leverage for that? And then that's like uniquely positioned right between the athletes and the assets. So any company that fits right in there would be a great one to sponsor your company, because that's like on both sides. You have athletes listening, and then you have entrepreneurs or investors listening to the podcast. So what is one, or many tools or kind of approaches that might fit both of those audiences?
You're hired.
Come on, let us, bro.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Oh man, yeah, no, I appreciate it. No, that's good chop right there. B-Scar, where can we find Scarlett Creative if I want to find out more?
Yeah, so you can find us on Instagram at Scarlett Creative Co. And then you can find us online at our website, scarlettcreative.co. And then you can find me at b.scar on Instagram.
There it is. Well, B-Scar, thank you so much for joining me. You can find Brennan and Scarlett being creative off the field, but also be creative and knocking you on your ass on the field. So, but B-Scar, thank you. Yeah, all of that. All of that. Right? All of the above.
Yeah.
Man, thank you so much for joining us. And, best of luck this year. We'll see you on the field soon.
No doubt, bro. I appreciate you having me on. It's an honor to be on Athletes and Assets.
Hey, there we go. And we just got the trademark. So we're
Come on.